Hi folks, I'm Brenda Paskey and welcome to part 3 of my 4.5 part series, The Meaning of Mulholland Drive, David Lynch's most beautiful and mysterious film. You may have noticed I am dressed as Aunt Ruth. I go to every showing of Mulholland Drive dressed like this. Nobody really notices what I'm doing because of the inherent sexism of society, and the doings of older women are just not that interesting. Also, I will not wear beige pants under any circumstances whatsoever. Now that I've got it on, this is kind of hot for an early Los Angeles morning. I wonder why Aunt Ruth is so overdressed. I think she might have a reason. This whole series is now over 2.5 hours, which means it's longer than the actual movie, and it looks like it's going to be maybe twice as long. The explanation can be done in 3 sentences, but gathering all the evidence takes much longer, actually. Basically, this is a movie about Diane in the afterlife. It's a very religious movie, and its main focus is anti-abortion, and Diane killed or was partly responsible for the deaths of 8 people, and now she must atone or explain herself. So this section I call Quasi-Reality. You can think of it as the afterlife, or David Lynch would probably call it the bardo. But it is just a reflection of what happened in reality. Anything that happens here actually happened in reality. It's just disguised and made less traumatic. So we can fill in a lot of gaps. None of these people are random. None of these situations are unknown. A lot of mysteries can be solved if you just keep that in mind. So let's take a look. In this episode, I will answer a few more of David Lynch's clues. Number 5, who gives a key and why? And number 9, the occurrences surrounding the man behind Winkies. I'll also revisit number 6, the robe, the ashtray, the coffee cup, because all of those are important no matter where or when we see them. So the only thing that's going to be left is number 7 for the final episode. For my own mysteries, I will answer all the black ones. The red ones were answered in the last episode. Number 2, why did Eyebrow Man dream twice? Number 9, who is Eyebrow Man, Mr. Roke, and Blue Hair Lady? Number 11, why does the Winkies monster glide? And number 13, why 7 dog poos? This is a website that has a lot of information on Mulholland Drive, mulhollanddrive.net. It's kind of defunct, but it just has a wealth of theories and observations and information about the movie. And this is the main page. And one of the examples, which I never noticed, but somebody brought up, is that when Diane asks what the blue key opens, Joe slaps his hand underneath that blue dumpster and kind of indicates it with his head. There are 4 main characters. The alphabet demands it. So we know who 3 of those main ones are, but David Lynch tells us right off at the very beginning of the movie who the 4th one is. Adam. Diane. Camilla. Coco? Yeah, it's Coco. Here she is in the purple dance, the very first person we see in the entire movie. And here she is at the very end, wearing her elaborate dress decorated with Christmas roses and her high hair piled up. That is her signature look, plus her big earrings. Yep, she's a very important character, and only the inherent sexism of society kept you from seeing that a middle-aged woman could be very important. So why am I harping on Coco? It's because she's one of the four main characters, and at least one of the four main characters is in every single scene of this movie. And knowing that will help us decode what is going on. The movie begins with Rita/Camilla being conveyed to her happy place or auspicious rebirth in a limo. There's a light there that indicates she is close to being born, but this process is interrupted by a white Ford Taurus. Yeah, a white bull, a Taurus, a young member of the Castiglione family. What has Camilla done that is preventing her rebirth? There's a tremendous crash that stops her in her motion, and something is flung from the wreckage. It really looks like a fetus or embryo to me. She staggers away, leaving the wounded chauffeur on the ground. And you will notice she's one of the two characters that has actual blood on them. One is Adam and one is her, and there's a reason for that. She seems bewildered because as you progress to your next life, you lose the memories of your original one. Now in here, I see actually a continuation of the theme of two empty chairs as the detectives examine the wreckage. That looks like an upturned director's chair, while this one looks like a sparkling throne of some kind. And here is one of the few license plates that does not add up to 8 because it has nothing to do with the deaths that are happening. Two detectives show up on the scene. Notice this arrow of light pointing at the guilty party there, because I believe it is Camilla and Diane. They're playing detectives in the Sierra Bonita scene, and here we have detectives again. Camilla, it looks like, might be reborn a man due to her decisiveness, willingness to engage in violence, and lack of care for her children. I don't think it's a promotion. And the Diane persona is showing her something in a baggie. Yeah, a blue-lidded baggie. Those blue ridges indicate death, and the single pearl indicates a child. There's just this beautiful shot of Rita fleeing through the streets of Los Angeles. It's one of the many beautiful shots in this movie that really captures, I think, Los Angeles. And I feel like David Lynch threw everything he had into this movie. Beautiful scenes, beautiful actors, exciting dances, wonderful music, everything to draw us in and get us involved and get us on his side for the argument he's going to make. She is stopped in her progress by this couple who I already mentioned is her parents, and she is stopped at Havenhurst to go in there and haunt it because, yes, that is her death place, and she will be there with several other people who died there. Fake Aunt Ruth enters the kitchen and performs some rather meaningless actions. I say she is fake Aunt Ruth for several reasons. One of which is that there are a lot of red wigs in this apartment, and so why would a red-haired woman have so many full red wigs?
So just because you walk out of Aunt Ruth's apartment, that does not make you Aunt Ruth. I even question whether that was the real Aunt Ruth's apartment, although I am sure she was seen there quite often. But that mysterious series of actions, I think, is a reflection of the last actions of Diane, only in reverse order, and that is telling us what just happened in that apartment. So Diane, when she killed herself, she located a key, she fumbled in a drawer, and she shot someone in the head, in this case, herself. Aunt Ruth is performing those actions in reverse. She shot someone in the head, she fumbled in a drawer, and she located some keys. We don't see the shooting in the head, but it is implied. So why doesn't Aunt Ruth see Rita under that table? Well, I think she does see her there, and she is not surprised to see her there because she is the one that put her there. And the clue to who fake Aunt Ruth is right here on her thick gold ring. So the thick gold ring is an indicator of the Selwyn family. I've told you other indicators of the various families, the white bull for the Castiglianis, the blue rose for the De Rosas. And this is another indicator for a Selwyn, somebody in the Selwyn family line. And Aunt Ruth is that person, and I think we can identify her as Joe because we know he was sent to kill Camilla, and that is what just happened in the apartment. Diane wears the gold family ring in reality. However, she does not wear it in quasi-reality, and it seems to have morphed into this large silver manacle-like bracelet. The first time we see it is in the Purple Dance, and the man I have identified as her father, Jack Selwyn. Billy has it, her stepbrother. This guy, who's Adam's agent, has it. And I think this guy is possibly also Billy. I'll discuss that later. This woman has it in the audition scene. She wears a lot of gold jewelry, just like Diane does. The waitress has it in quasi-reality, but she also has a gold ring in reality. And of course, Joe. Joe has the gold ring indicating his family. The magician has a gold ring. This guy has both black and blue, so he is probably representing two people, but definitely a Selwyn. The cab driver loads a very heavy trunk into the taxi. That is the yellow taxi cab of death driven by Billy. Billy is the driver for the Selwyn family. You can see his geometric short sleeve shirt that you will see him wearing in many scenes. Nothing else will obviously identify him. And there is the one stalwart white pillar of the Castigliani family. That body that he was loading into the trunk, I believe, was the cowboy's. There's fake Aunt Ruth with her strangler scarf, her yellow box of death, her red wig. And this pose is eerily similar to Irene's at the airport. But I don't think they're the same person at all. But it's definitely a reflection there. So the Winky scene is just an amazing scene in a movie filled with amazing scenes. We have the bobbing motion of the camera, we have the unforgettable jump scare, and then we have Eyebrow Man. And Eyebrow Man is someone we know. because every scene in this movie involves one of the four main characters. So this is reality. It's disguised reality, but this really happened, and it will explain so much. So this scene starts with sirens. Why are fire engines coming to Winkies? David Lynch also plays around with signs and shadows to draw attention to certain parts. So I will tell you now what I see on this sign are 2 eggs and a sperm. Now, you will think I'm just nuts, but by the end of part 4, you will realize I'm 100% right. So as Eyebrow Man recounts his terrifying dream, we see in the background a person in black and a person in all blue heading toward the parking lot. We know blue means DeRosa. Black would be a Selwyn, and in particular, black leather indicates a Selwyn, although we can't really tell what this person is wearing. But keep that in mind for other scenes. Black in general means power, but if it's leather, it's Joe or Billy or some Selwyn. Coming back from the parking lot, we see that person in black with a person totally in yellow, which is, an unusual costume even for Los Angeles. And finally, a woman pushes a baby buggy away. I'll just draw your attention to random black people in this scene. They're in the backs of a lot of scenes. Not sure what it means. So, Eyebrow Man, who is he? He's got dark hair, a woeful expression, dark, stylish clothes, extravagant eye embellishments. Who could it be? Who could it be but Adam? Adam, without the glass wall that has impeded his vision.
I just wanted to come here.
To Winkies?
This Winkies.
Okay. Why this Winkies?
Yes, Adam, why this Winkies? Perhaps I should consult my little black book of old-timey slang to see what half night means. Oh, it's a one-night stand that didn't even last one night. It appears Adam is here for the perky blonde waitress. Yes, folks, that's what the Sylvia North story was all about. Reality was from Diane's point of view. It was bracketed by a single day in her life, the morning when she woke up to the horrors of what she had done, to the evening when she died. Quasi-Reality is structured the same. It's very much concerned with Adam, and it is bracketed by the morning when he wakes up to a horrible reality, to the evening when he dies. Yes, Adam dies. Sorry. The fates of Diane and Adam are intertwined. They have always been intertwined. They were born on the same day in the same place on Mulholland Drive, and they die on the same day. And here Herb stands at the register, and a blonde waitress is visible in the background. Herb is, of course, Wilkins with his big mouth, encouraging Adam to do what he really should not do. And while he has not eaten his breakfast, we can see there remains coffee in his coffee mug, implying that he still has a future. As they leave for the parking lot, we see 2 crosses in the background, foreshadowing the 2 bodies that he will soon see. A tape on the phone indicates where the blue key was found and removed by Diane. He stares at it for a long time, and anytime a character stares at something, we need to ask ourselves, what is David Lynch trying to draw our attention to? Wilkins, with his blonde hair, follows creepily close behind Adam. And this is a foreshadowing of another scene where a car is closely following Adam. And this great jump scene gets me every time. I think it's the music, because the music's telling you something's going to happen, but a split second before the conclusion, it happens, and you're just never ready for it. And I used to think he died. He did not. He was shocked. Like his dad, he probably has a weak heart and is in danger of dying young. He collapses, but there's still life in him. So why does the Winkies monster glide? Well, come on, folks. You saw the shopping carts. Yeah, that is Camilla's burned body. Joe tried to destroy the evidence with fire, but failed as usual. That's why smoke and flames follow Rita. That's why smoke and flames follow the bum. And that was not the worst thing that Adam saw back there, because there were 2 shopping carts. And in the other cart was the body of the cowboy. So why is Adam/Dan bobbing around like that? Why is Herb/Wilkins sounding like he's underwater? Yeah, why? Yep, Adam drove into the swimming pool in his distress. So thank you, URAS fan, for the brilliant explanation of the bobbing camera in this Winky scene.
Hello? The girl is still missing.
Talk to me.
The same.
There is a series of phone calls from the afterlife to real life. It goes from Mr. Roke to Back of Head Man to Hairy Arm Man to the phone under the red lamp that we know Diane answered. So who are these people? We know that they must be at least one of the main characters. And if we go back, we know from reality that Camilla is the one that called Diane. So hairy arm guy is Camilla. And in fact, anybody in this movie with a lot of hair piled up on their head is a Castiglione, which Camilla is in the line of the Castigliones. If we step back from that up until back ahead guy, we'll notice actually he's got glasses, which frequently means Adam, but in this case, it means somebody closely related to Adam. And we can see they're up on a balcony, very similar to Silencio. So I would say that was Coco. So if these 2 men are actually representing women, maybe it's women all the way down. So who is Mr. Roke?
So if Mr. Roke is a woman, what woman is he? First of all, this guy in the back of him, his helper, has the full facial hair and the blue shirt of a DeRosa, which might just mean that he is a DeRosa orphan. I think it's Joe. So he lives in a shadowy room dominated by a green couch. He's a small, childlike cripple. I thought originally he must be Diane, but the key to this is that the phrase, the girl is still missing, is actually translated to, my girl is still missing. Yeah, that is Betty, Diane's mother, who has been waiting for 30 years for her daughter to get the life she deserves and the life she was promised. I really feel like David Lynch, more than most men of his generation, sees gender as a role. But there is a caveat in that if you're casting a movie, casting a play, whatever role you are given, you have to play. If you're the spear carrier, you don't get to stand up and sing an aria at the end to conclude the whole show. You have your specific role. So while it is just a role, female or male, you are expected to play it as it is. Another thing to note is that when Back of Head Man answers the phone, he says, "Allô," not hello, a French form of hello, pointing again to Coco. So Betty comes to LAX after being called to the afterlife by Camilla. This is a very crowded scene. You have to pay attention to a lot of characters in the background to realize how many people are arriving along with Betty. These two back here closely resemble the detectives, and they are accompanying them. The mosaic tie that recalls the ashtray at Sierra Bonita points right at Betty's head as they descend the escalator. And Betty is simply overjoyed, and I believe that's because instead of being in hell, she's back at LAX. These two twins in the background are flanking Irene, while a redhead who is surely Aunt Ruth with her yellow scarf glares at Irene, and this woman looks at Aunt Ruth and mouths thank you. And if you watch, there's a lot of mouthing of words going on in various scenes that you should pay attention to. I believe this is Betty, Diane's mother, who is thanking Aunt Ruth for taking care of her as best she could all those years. She has a large handbag, beige, much like Betty's. So here's Irene and Betty with her two blue suitcases. One is much larger and more important than the other, or possibly it just is older. Aunt Ruth appears with a coat over her arm that is red like a sheet of blood as they continue through the airport. She appears again accompanied by this guy who we see dressed similarly in other scenes. I think he was at the scene of the accident. He's accompanying Aunt Ruth. And Irene has a large bruise on the back of her neck. I mentioned that earlier in an earlier episode. Yeah, Betty gave it to her because Betty's kind of mean. Billy grabs her suitcases. He's got the mustache and the green shirt. So he puts it in the yellow cab. He's the driver of the death taxi cab. You can see the limo driver seems to have a bandaged up nose. It's because he was in a terrible crash as he was ferrying Rita to her next life. So the two oldsters chortle in there like, we did it, we pulled it off. But who are they? The companion has glasses like Adam. I don't think he's Adam. He is Adam Jr., and he is not old. He's just very wrinkly. And Irene is the little sister of DeRosa and Camilla. She was killed in the terrible accident that took their mother. She was never born. But in other scenes, you can see she has a glittery necklace, which would suggest she has great singing talent. She pats her companion's knee 3 times. It's similar to what Coco did with Diane. It's sort of a familial thing, and you'll see various gestures that are common between family members in this movie. She has a rose indicating she is a DeRosa. And we have more clues. There was raw meat in this paper bag, which I believe corresponds to Adam Jr. here. And the pop top of the Coke can is associated with Irene. It is visible, barely visible back here. So she was closer to birth than Adam was. And somebody drew my attention to this scene here. I thought this was the one scene without a main character in it, but actually there is one. It's this person that is a woman, and it is Camilla, and she runs from here to here on a curving line. And we will see later that that indicates family members. So right now you think, how can I possibly tell it's Camilla? But you will see later. So thank you, A Swift Hoax, for pointing out that running person. I never would have noticed. Betty arrives at Il Palisandro to sad, nostalgic music. The camera pans to the right here, where I believe somebody is waiting and watching, and that person is Coco. The jail-like gates allow her entrance. The courtyard seems sad and neglected, and this is Wilkins' apartment here. Coco greets her, and I will say, just because you walk out of the manager's apartment, that does not make you the manager. Here she is giving a lecture to Wilkins, but we never see Wilkins, we never hear his dog. And let's just talk about what she's wearing here. She's dressed in black, which would be mourning, possibly mourning for Aunt Ruth, because Adam is still alive at this point. Her pearls, the single ones, represent children, this for Adam, and this, separated by sparkly jewels on her ears, are her nieces, DeRosa and Camilla. I went back and forth on the meaning of pearl necklaces. First, I thought it was naughty. Then I thought it was accusatory. They're so large and fake, and maybe that strand of pearls Betty turns up with later in the movie was stolen from Coco. But in the end, I realized it represented acting. And Coco is acting friendly to the best of her ability because she absolutely hates Betty.
Wilkins, if that damn dog craps in the courtyard one more time, I'm just gonna bake his little butt for breakfast. You don't have any pets, do you?
Oh, no, I don't.
So I will now translate the prior scene. Listen, bitch, if you kill my beloved son Adam, like those 7 other unfortunate souls, I will send your ass to burning hell. Yeah, remember, we don't see Wilkins in the scene. We don't see his dog. Coco is talking to Diane. There's a lot of dog imagery related to Diane because Coco has a say in how she will be reborn, and she could be reborn as a dog. Maybe one of those little white fluffy bitchin' freezes you see around LA might not be the worst fate, but really not what Diane would prefer. There's a lot of dog imagery around Betty in this part of the movie. Here at the airport, by her head, no bitches. If you look by people's heads, you'll often see clues to what's going on with them. And here we have the red of guilt. The Laney scene at Pink's big dog sign. At the amazing audition, that is a picture of a woman sheltering, comforting, protecting a little dog. And that will be very significant, we'll see. And here, the famous 7 poops in the courtyard that David Lynch refused to get rid of because it's absolutely central to the plot. Those 7 poops are the 7 people that Diane helped kill. And you'll notice one is slightly smaller than the rest. But what many people don't notice is that here are 3 leaves cut from the same branch. And that is Camilla, Camilla Jr., and the cowboy. 3 occurs again, these bright red peppers in the kitchen that mysteriously appear from nowhere in that yellow bowl that indicates they were killed. Coco gives the key to Betty, the key to Rita, the key to her future, the key to everything she wants, because she is desperate to save Adam. Adam is still alive. And I'm not sure what this is back here. I thought it was a real painting, but I can't find it. I just feel like she's giving the big middle finger to Betty there. You notice it's by her head. Betty looks coyly at the fireplace. Let us not forget she had the bodies of Camilla and the cowboy burned beyond recognition. She looks at the luxurious, somewhat over-decorated apartment, very feminine, lots of photos giving clues to who lives here. There's some bulbous vases in the background that are similar to other ones we will see in other apartments. And of course, the famous Beatrice Cenci portrait. This was a picture of a dark-haired woman with a blonde child. Everyone assumes it's Aunt Ruth with Diane, but it is not. There's another picture in the bedroom of a boy. Here in the kitchen, we see a back door. A lot of the rooms and apartments in this movie have back doors. Secret ways to get in, secret ways. He sees the discarded clothes on the floor. I believe this is a reflection of what happened in reality when Joe attacked Rosa. She goes into the bathroom and, oh, there's a naked woman in there. Did you see the naked woman in that shower? I sure did. I didn't have to open the door to check her out thoroughly. This is one of the many actions of Betty that are really questionable, but we kind of overlook them due to the inherent sexism of society. And a cute little blonde cannot possibly be a terrible person. So here's an example of me seeing clues everywhere, because here the light is falling to emphasize these 2 jagged decorations in the bathroom that symbolize, I think, the death of Camilla's 2 children. Above Betty's head is a cowboy hat. So the cowboy hangs his hat here. He's comfortable enough to leave his stuff around in spite of the feminine-looking nature of the apartment. The mysterious lady says her name is Rita, but there was never a woman like Rita. And there is a cigarette burning in her hand. That's the end of someone's life. Rita emerges from the bathroom, and if you look at the expression on her face, she looks very suspicious and distrustful of Betty. who looks very perky, but by her head is the picture of a monster-like thing. I don't even know what that is. I looked all over, no idea. It just looks creepy. And there we see a better view of the cowboy hat and then some pearls that indicate acting. Back here is a mysterious alcove that we can't quite see in. There's a mirror in there. It just seems very weird, a weird placement. A mosaic-like thing by Betty's head again. If you watch this scene carefully, Rita is getting tired of Betty's nonsense and going on about her dreams and how wonderful it is she's here. And then she fakes a faint. And if you look, somebody has gone and translated this picture, which you might think would be nonsensical, but I think it actually gives us a clue. It's on mulhollanddrive.net. And the important thing is this name, Hank Kai King. We have a Hank in this movie in both reality and quasi-reality. And Hank is alive still, like the waitress. And I think Hank has an important part to play in the future of everyone. Betty covers Rita with the robe that was meant for her. Notice the red splotch by her hip. The note says it's for Bitsy, but people have pointed out Rita has been overwritten here. So this robe was meant for Rita. It was repurposed for Betty, but Betty gave it back. And does that look like love to you or lover? So guys, I've been staring at every frame of this movie so long, I don't know yet if I'm making things up or there are truly more clues. In the first Purple Dance, I feel like the women's hairstyles indicate how many kids they have. Betty, Diane's mother, has 2 ponytails. That's for Joe and Diane. Coco has a lot of hair, but no ponytail. That's Adam. Aunt Ruth has very short hair and kind of a masculine style costume. She has no kids yet. Later she will have Billy. And then the twins' parents here, Margarita Luisa Castiglione, has 2 ponytails for DeRosa and Camilla. For the keys, there's keys all over the place in this movie. Ed is casually and carelessly displaying some keys in his office, and we wonder if that's where Joe got some of his keys to break in. Joe displays this very briefly in the diner hitman scene. A blue key, a silver key, and some kind of red thing. When Aunt Ruth shows up at the airport, she's got the red thing and the silver, possibly keys, hanging off her purse there. I really can't tell. But remember, her apartment adjoins the twins' apartment, number 17, where they originally lived. And in this scene at the airport, I circled Aunt Ruth. And then I noticed I captured something else here. At first I thought a luggage trolley, but the more I look at it, it's an empty gurney waiting for someone to arrive at the airport. And we will see a gurney in another important scene. So in that spirit, when I see the Castiglione brothers helicoptering in over Los Angeles and there is a red S down there, I feel like it must mean something, but I have not a clue what. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. We zoom in on Adam in what appears to be law offices. I think there will be a mediation session very shortly. And his agent, Robert Smith, Bob Smith, makes an odd gesture as he babbles some nonsensical crap. Here it is. It's a yoga gesture, and I see a lot of gestures in this movie, and I've managed to find some of them, but I'm pretty sure not all of them. So anybody with knowledge, please enlighten me. The murder weapon of Luigi rests in front of Adam. This guy has a gold ring, the green of the Selwyns and Winkies, the patterned tie. I think it is Billy. And I think his name is actually Billy Bob, because there will be another guy in a green short-sleeved shirt named Bob later on. Here is the other example of that gesture. It is a mudra, meaning knowledge or wisdom. People keep urging Adam to do the wise thing, but Adam has his principles, and at this point, he is not convinced, he's not going to do it, and he can think of no alternative. Here's another example of a hand gesture. Similar one over here. I think it relates to female power. I am just pretty certain this means something, but I have no idea what. Here is Betty rubbing her hands. She rubs them again in a different way at the airport. I suspect there's a meaning. Maybe I'm seeing too many meanings. In the end, blue hair lady, who is Coco, also has a gesture. So here, as I was going frame by frame, I noticed something I had not noticed before. This gesture, the pinky pointing gesture of the Castiglianis. This guy has a receding hairline, a white shirt of the Castiglianis, and the red jacket denoting his service. And here is this shot where we see Luigi's, and the waiter's hands are very similar. This is something I've actually noticed in family members where they may not look at all alike, but you look at their hands, you know. So nicely manicured hands, the little pinky fingers stuck out. I think this guy is a Castigliani, possibly Luigi's illegitimate son, who is like his servant, so he's not being treated that well. The Castigliani brothers enter, and Mr. Darby leaps up with actually not a very friendly expression and puts out his hand, but Luigi refuses to shake the hand of the person who murdered his family. And if you look at Mr. Darby, he is blonde and has a rather ill-fitting shirt there. It's too small. He's wearing the green of the Selwyns. Do we know anyone else who wears clothes that are a little too small? Why, yes, we do. There's Betty in her sparkly sweater that she has outgrown. That Mr. Darby is almost certainly her. So we gather around the boardroom table, and this is a reflection of the dinner party scene where there are also 10 seats at the table. We have Adam, Billy, the white-haired representative of the DeRosas, Mr. Darby, who is Diane, a Selwyn, Luigi, and this guy, Vincenzo Castigliani. Notice that these rays of light, or possibly scissor blades, are pointing right at the back of his chair. And these two chairs are empty. They surely represent the empty chairs of Camilla's two unborn children. So honestly, Adam, if Luigi put $7 million into this production, really, maybe he should have some say. Maybe there's some compromise to be made. Otherwise, you're going to have to turn to the French. Just a note over these heads. It looks like entertain men to me. He's put the T in shadow. Adam mentioned that 6 actresses are vying for the part in this movie, the part of his daughter. And 6 is a very auspicious number in Hinduism, apparently. And that one license plate that didn't add up to 8 that I mentioned, it actually does add up to 6. So now I feel like I need to chase down every evidence of 6 in this movie, but I'm feeling kind of exhausted, so I'll let you guys do it. Some other things to note in this scene: the pristine ashtrays in front of both Mr. Darby and Adam. So we know this means they are innocent of harm, which puzzles me a bit. Certainly Adam is innocent. He is caring, concerned, principled, and has never harmed anybody. He's instead been betrayed by everyone. Diane's a little different though, although she too has been betrayed. Also notice there are glasses of water in front of Ray and Bob, and then you can barely see there's a water pitcher behind Mr. Darby, which means there is water to offer Luigi if he does not care for the espresso. They just were rude enough not to give him any. And then here is the box from which the picture of Camilla Jr. will be pulled. The picture of Camilla Rhodes Jr. is presented to the table. Originally, this was Irene, the soul of a wonderful singer who would be born as the little sister of Camilla and DeRosa, but she perished in the terrible car crash that killed their parents. Then she was going to be reborn as Luisa, the child of Camilla, but she died when her mother was murdered. And now she has another chance at life. So what do we have here? I think this scene completely fails the Bechdel test. We have like 6 guys. Technically, Betty is not a guy, but she's disguised as one. And they're all discussing a woman who is not even allowed to be in the room. And they will decide her fate. So how does this reflect the dinner party? We have 2 placeholders at the original dinner party. Now they will be replaced by the empty chairs for Camilla's children. We had Adam, Camilla, Coco, that white-haired guy who is now at the table. We have Diane next to Adam's stepbrother, Wilkins. Yeah, Wilkins Kesher. And then Luigi, who was not there, and DeRosa, who was not there. So who is here at the boardroom table? We have the white-haired guy. We have Diane. We have Adam. Rather than his stepbrother, it's now Diane's stepbrother. We have Luigi. Then we have Camilla, who is not present. If you will recall, she was in the front seat of the limousine for part of that dinner party. And DeRosa was not there either. And then we have the cowboy. Oh, why do I think that's the cowboy? Let's look at what he's wearing. The white shirt, of course, of the Castiglioni, kind of brown mottled suit, a red and white tie, and this gesture, a familiar gesture, a gesture, by the way, Adam has. Yeah, see the similarity in the costumes? That's definitely the cowboy. And here is Adam, and there is an A there to tell us it's Adam. And we will see that A again. That will tell us somebody is Adam. And he is making that same gesture. It's kind of a family trait. The waiter obsequiously places the suggestion next to Luigi. And I'm seeing again the 2 eggs and a sperm. Don't ask me what that means. Or maybe I'm imagining it. Just so you know, this is what good espresso looks like. This is the terrible dishwater they served Luigi. No wonder he spit it up like a little baby. So, if Vincenzo is indeed the cowboy, what terrible crime did he commit that caused him to be expelled from the Castigliani family? He can only lurk about the fringes. He's not allowed to sit at the family table, yet Coco trusts him. He came when she called. He came here when Luigi called. He's apparently Luigi's full brother. So what did he do? All I will say is that that bathrobe left behind in the apartment he frequented is the most darn flamboyant thing I have ever seen in my life.
That was a highly recommended.
That is considered one of the finest espressos in the
Wait a
world.
minute, what is
sir.
going on here?
There is no way that girl is in my movie. That girl is not in my film.
I will now attempt to decode and translate this brief clip. I am unable to determine the symbolism of forcefully expelling a bodily fluid. Perhaps some of you can help. In the original script, Luigi did not call the coffee the future shit. He said porco miseria, which sounds like he's calling Adam a miserable pig, but actually an Italian speaker would tell you it kind of means, oh, for God's sake, which could almost be interpreted as a plea or prayer. We already know that the phrase, "this is the girl," means "this is my girl." Luigi is somewhat humbled and embarrassed to tell Adam that the child he so wished for is actually Luigi's daughter. And now that Adam has impregnated the waitress, the soul of Luigi's daughter, who was originally Irene, a great singing talent, then to be Camilla's daughter Luisa, a great singing talent, needs to be reborn as the waitress's child. And Adam does not accept it. He says, "No way, no way," just as he did at the dinner party when somebody said that Camilla was carrying on with Luigi, except he said it in Spanish, que va. And that last bit with Vincenzo in the script, he says, help me, help me. But what I hear is coffee, a future. He wants a future. So it's really kind of amusing how some of the bit players in this movie don't really know their lines or what they're supposed to do, and then they're just ad-libbing a bunch of nonsense. Some examples are Bob, the director, in The Amazing Audition, just babbles off some direction to the actors. Bob Smith, Adam's agent, just sort of mumbles some stuff about compromise that doesn't make a lot of sense. Even Rita doesn't know her name or what she's supposed to be doing. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Even when the white-haired guy goes to talk to Mr. Roque, he just has to kind of read his mind that he wants it all to end. In a rage, Adam takes the golf club and goes out to the limo. And we don't see who's in the passenger side of the limo again. And this is just a very interesting scene. I mean, this looks like it's a great reflection. It looks like a car almost, a car about to crash. And in the background, we have parking We have hot in yellow, which means death. And we have exit. Park, hotel, exit. A little bit of foreshadowing. Adam smashes the window in a rage, stopping the forward motion of this vehicle that is going to the next life. We will see a shot from inside of the vehicle. It can't be the chauffeur's point of view. He's outside of the vehicle. This is Camilla looking at this. I don't know what that pattern means. Maybe a crushed heart. Maybe. And Adam drives off in a fury. Ray enters Mr. Roke's lair. We see 2 blue lights, which may indicate Camilla's 2 DeRosa line children. We know Ray is a representative of the DeRosas. Others have commented that the light gives him 2 rabbit ears. I think this is actually Ganesh, elephant ears. There's a lot of like Hindu symbolism in this movie. And he would be wisdom and working things through and making things happen. Mr. Roke is Betty, original Betty, Diane's mother, flanked by Joe, who carries out her wishes. And Mr. Roke says, shut everything down. Adam has not come up with a wise solution to the problem, and he could have. Wow, folks, we are an hour into this episode, and I have only covered half of the scenes in the Bardo/Afterlife/Quasi-Reality. I even sped up some of my talking parts imperceptibly because I have a very slow, deliberate way of talking, it seems. I'm going to stop here, and I will be back with episode 3.5, the rest of the afterlife, hopefully by the end of the month. And we will learn about the clumsy killer and Adam being cheated on. So see you then.